The night sky above the alien city glowed with strange colors. Red moons hung heavy and bright blue stars flickered in the distance. The streets were crowded, filled with voices of traders, the smell of roasted meat, and the sound of machines. Among the noise and movement, a human walked slowly, his eyes studying everything with quiet caution. He had traveled far, crossing many systems, and now he stood in a place where humans were few. Most of the crowd ignored him, though some gave him curious glances. To them he was different, a stranger, someone who did not belong. Still he kept moving, calm, his boots striking the rough stone ground with steady steps. The human was not looking for trouble. He only wanted to buy supplies and leave the city before dark. Yet fate had already prepared something else for him that night. From the corner of the street, a sudden movement caught his eye. At first he thought it was just another child running through the market. But this figure moved differently, fast, desperate, as if running away from something unseen. The crowd did not try to stop her. In fact, they stepped aside quickly, avoiding her like she carried a curse, and then, before the human could even understand, she crashed into him. A small alien girl, no more than 10 or 11 in human years, stumbled forward and threw herself into his arms. Her body was thin, fragile, her skin pale with a faint silver tone that shimmered under the lights. She clung to him as if he were the only safe place left in the universe. The human froze in shock. He looked down and his eyes met hers. Her eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the dim light, filled with fear and tears. She whispered something he almost did not hear. Her voice was shaking, broken, but clear enough. "Help, please." The human's heart tightened. He felt her small fingers gripping his jacket with surprising strength. Her whole body trembled, and her breathing was quick, almost like she was running out of air. People in the street began to whisper, their eyes on the human and the alien girl. No one came closer. No one tried to take her away. They only watched, silent, as if afraid of becoming part of the scene. The human bent slightly, speaking softly. "What happened? Who was after you?" The girl only pressed her face deeper against his chest, refusing to answer. Her silence said more than words. The human lifted his eyes and scanned the street. That was when he noticed the change. At the far end of the market, figures were moving. Large shadows in dark armor pushed through the crowd. They were searching, their helmets glowing with sharp red lights. The crowd opened a path for them without a word. Everyone seemed to know what these guards wanted. And then the truth struck him. They were looking for her. The girl's body went stiff, and her fingers dug into his jacket as soon as she sensed them. Her soft whisper came again, even weaker this time. "Don't let them." The human now understood. This was no simple accident. She had not chosen him by chance. She had run to him because she believed he would protect her. She had trusted a stranger, not of her kind, not of her world, but still she believed in him. His chest felt heavy with the weight of her trust. His mind raced. What should he do? The guards were armed, powerful, and dangerous. If he handed her over, his life would remain safe. No one would question his choice. After all, she was not his responsibility. But when he looked down again, he saw her face. The girl's eyes, though filled with terror, still carried hope. Hope that he, a human, would not betray her. Hope that he would stand between her and the darkness chasing her. The human's hand slowly wrapped around her small shoulders, steady and firm. The choice was not easy, but he knew his answer. For reasons even he could not explain, he could not let her go. The guards' voices grew louder as they shouted orders in their harsh tongue. The crowd obeyed instantly, pointing directions, clearing the way. Soon the search would reach him. The human lowered his voice and whispered to the girl, "Stay quiet. Hold on to me." Her tiny nod was almost invisible, but he felt it. She buried her face against him, trusting him completely. The human took a deep breath. He turned his body, blending with the flow of the crowd, moving as if he were just another traveler passing by. His steps grew faster, yet calm, his expression steady. The girl clung to him like a shadow, hidden against his chest. Behind them, the guards marched closer, their boots striking the ground in rhythm, their eyes scanning, their weapons ready. The crowd moved aside in silence, no one daring to interfere. The human kept walking, heart pounding, but his will was firm. He did not know why she had chosen him. He did not know why she had run. But he knew one thing with certainty. He would not let go. And in that single choice, a new story began. The human slipped into a narrow alley, his steps quick but measured. He kept his head low, his arms wrapped around the trembling girl. The noise of the market faded behind him, replaced by the hum of power lines and the distant growl of alien engines. The girl's small body felt weightless, but her fear was heavy. Her chest rose and fell too fast, and each time she gasped, it sounded like a cry she was trying to hide. Her fingers still clung to his jacket as if letting go would mean death. He crouched behind a half-broken wall, finally setting her down for a moment. The dim glow of a street lamp revealed her face more clearly now. Her silver-tinted skin was marred with bruises, old and new. A thin scar ran across her cheek. Her clothes were torn, too big for her small frame, as if she had stolen them or been given the leftovers no one wanted. The human's throat tightened. He lowered his voice, trying to sound calm. "Look at me. You're safe for now. Just breathe." The girl raised her eyes slowly. They shimmered faintly, not from beauty but from tears that refused to fall. She bit her lip and shook her head, whispering, "No, not safe, never safe." The human leaned closer. "Who are they? Why are they chasing you?" Her hands curled into fists. She opened her mouth as if to answer, but then froze. Her eyes darted to the shadows, her body shrinking back. In that moment, the human realized she wasn't just afraid of the guards. She was afraid of speaking the truth itself. He pressed no further. Instead, he pulled off his worn cloak and wrapped it around her shoulders. She shivered beneath the fabric, but a small warmth flickered in her eyes, as if no one had done such a simple kindness for her before. Footsteps echoed at the mouth of the alley. The human's head snapped toward the sound. A pair of armored guards scanned the street, their red visors glowing. One raised a device that pulsed with strange light, sweeping across the ground like a predator sniffing for prey. The girl's breath hitched sharply. She pressed closer against the human, her tiny body trembling like a leaf in a storm. Her eyes, wide and glowing faintly in the dark, pleaded without words. Fear lived in those eyes, deep, raw, and too old for someone so young. It was not the fear of being scolded or even punished. It was the fear of someone who had already suffered more than most could bear. The fear of someone who knew exactly what awaited if she was caught again. The human's jaw tightened. He rested a steady hand on her back, a silent promise. She flinched at first, then slowly leaned into his touch, her small frame sinking against him as if his presence was a shield she desperately needed. The guards' voices boomed in their harsh language. One of them pointed down the alley, suspicion sharp in his tone. The human acted quickly. He pulled the girl into the shadow of a broken doorway. His cloak covered her face as he leaned forward, pretending to adjust his boots like a tired traveler resting. The guard's heavy steps drew nearer. The human's heart pounded, but he forced his breathing to stay slow. The girl, pressed against him, shook violently. He could feel her silent sobs against his chest. The beam of the scanning device swept closer, its light brushing against the wall just inches away. The girl's hand clutched his shirt tightly, her nails digging into the fabric. For a moment he feared her ragged breath would give them away. But then, as if fate shifted, the guards turned back. One muttered something, shaking his head, and they moved farther down the street. Their footsteps faded into the distance. The human exhaled slowly, the tension in his body easing slightly. He looked down at the girl. She was still pressed against him, her face hidden, her shoulders trembling. He whispered softly, "It's all right. They're gone, for now." She pulled back just enough to look up at him. Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, tears spilled silently down her cheeks. She had been holding them back, fighting to stay strong, but now they flowed freely. The human wiped one away with his thumb, gentle, as if touching something fragile that might break. Her glowing eyes blinked at him, confused, maybe even disbelieving. Perhaps no one had ever cared enough to wipe her tears before. He asked again, even softer this time, "Why did you run to me?" Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Because humans don't leave." The words pierced him deeper than any blade could. She did not know his name, his story, or his past. Yet she believed simply because of what he was, human. To her, that was enough reason to trust him with her life. The human could not speak. He only nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He tightened the cloak around her and stood, lifting her gently once more. "We'll move," he said firmly. "I'll find a place where they cannot touch you." The girl clung to him again, her arms weak but determined. Her eyes closed as though, for the first time in a long while, she could let herself rest in someone's protection. The city around them still echoed with danger. But in that moment, under the faint glow of alien lights, a bond had begun, born not of blood or origin, but of fear, trust, and a fragile hope. The night deepened, and the city lights flickered like tired stars. The human kept moving through the narrow paths, carrying the small alien girl close to his chest. Every corner seemed to whisper danger. Every shadow felt alive with watching eyes. He paused at an abandoned courtyard. The broken walls were covered with moss that glowed faintly, casting an eerie green light. It was quiet, too quiet. He set the girl down on a flat stone, crouching so his eyes were level with hers. "You need to tell me," he said gently, but firmly. "Who are they? Why are they hunting you?" The girl shook her head quickly, her silver hair falling across her face. "If I say it, they will know," she whispered. "They always know." Her words sent a chill through him. She was not only afraid of the guards, she believed they had ways of sensing even spoken truths. The human leaned back, thinking. He had lived among many alien species, and some were indeed powerful enough to track their prey by sound, scent, or thought. The girl's small hands trembled in her lap. She lowered her voice to a near breath. "Everyone whispers. They say I should not exist." Her words hung heavy in the air. The human frowned. "Not exist? What do you mean?" She looked up at him, her glowing eyes sharp with pain. "I am weak. My blood is not pure. They say my life will bring shame. So my family gave me away. The guards came after. They said it is law." The human's chest burned with anger. A law that hunted children. A law that declared some lives unworthy. He clenched his fists but kept his voice calm. "Listen to me. Their law does not decide your worth." The girl blinked at him, her lips trembling. No one had ever told her that before. Suddenly the sound of boots echoed again. Heavy iron-like steps. The girl's eyes widened and she darted to the human's side. He pulled her close and peeked past the wall. 3 armored guards stood at the far end of the courtyard. One of them held a scanner that pulsed with red waves sweeping across the area. The device beeped and the guard barked something in their harsh tongue. The other 2 spread out, weapons glowing with deadly energy. The human's heart raced. He knew the girl's strange glow in her eyes and skin could betray her if they looked too closely. He glanced around. There was no safe exit. Only broken walls, a dead end, and the whispers of danger closing in. The girl grabbed his sleeve, whispering urgently, "They will find us." "They always do." Her fear was so strong that it nearly crushed his resolve. But then he remembered the way she had run to him, the way she had whispered, "Humans don't leave." He could not let that trust break. The human bent low, his mouth near her ear. "Do you trust me?" Her small nod came without hesitation, though her eyes were full of terror. "Then stay behind me," he whispered. The guard's scanning beam swept closer, lighting the walls red. The human picked up a loose stone and tossed it toward the far end of the courtyard. It clattered loudly, echoing off the ruins. Instantly, the guards turned toward the noise, weapons raised. One shouted orders and they moved in that direction, the scanner following the false signal. The human seized the chance. He lifted the girl and moved quickly through a broken archway that led into a narrow tunnel. The stone passage smelled of damp earth and rusted metal. His boots splashed quietly in shallow water as he hurried forward. Behind them, the guards shouted again. The scanner must have corrected itself. The sound of pursuit grew louder. The girl whispered frantically, "They are coming. They will never stop." The human tightened his grip on her. "Then we keep moving. One step ahead. Always." The tunnel opened into another street, darker and emptier than before. Strange alien graffiti covered the walls, symbols of rebellion, warnings, and forgotten names. As he glanced at them, the human realized something. Not everyone in this city agreed with the law. Some had resisted. Some had been silenced. The whispers of danger were not only about the guards. They were also about the people who once dared to speak and the punishment that followed. The girl's voice broke his thoughts. "Why are you helping me? You could leave. You could live." The human stopped, looking at her with steady eyes. "Because I cannot live if I leave you. That is the difference." For a moment, silence stretched between them. Her tears glimmered in the dim light, but her lips curved into the faintest fragile smile. Then, from behind them, the howl of alarm sirens filled the night. The guards had found their trail again. Red lights flashed across the walls, marking them as targets. The human pulled the girl close once more, whispering, "Hold on. Whatever happens, don't let go," and with that, He ran into the darkness, carrying her toward an uncertain future, while the whispers of danger grew louder with every step. The human's boots struck the wet stone as he ran through the twisting streets, the alien girl clinging to him like a shadow. Behind them, the alarms wailed and the guards' voices echoed like thunder. Red searchlights swept across the alleys, searching for prey. The girl buried her face against his chest. Her body trembled with every sound, every distant shout. She whispered in broken breaths, "They will catch us. They always catch me." The human's grip tightened. "Not tonight," he said firmly. But inside his heart pounded with doubt. He knew the truth. He was only one man against an entire system. The law of this world was cruel, and the girl was its target. To protect her meant standing against powers far greater than himself. He ducked into a ruined warehouse, its roof half collapsed, its air thick with dust. The glow of red searchlights passed by the broken windows but did not enter. For a moment, silence returned. The human set the girl down gently. She sank to the floor, pulling the cloak tighter around herself. Her glowing eyes fixed on him, filled with fear but also something deeper, pleading, desperate hope. He knelt in front of her. "Listen to me. I need to know. If I give you to them, what will they do?" The girl's lips trembled. She shook her head slowly. "Erase me. Make me disappear. No one will remember I was here. No one will care." The human swallowed hard. He had seen many wars, many cruelties, but this was different. This was not the battlefield. It was the cold hand of law crushing a child simply for being weak. His fists clenched until his knuckles turned white. He stood and turned away, pacing through the shadows of the warehouse. The choice weighed heavy. He could leave her, walk out, pretend nothing had happened. If he handed her over, his life would remain untouched. He would not be hunted. He would not be marked as an enemy of this city. But the image of her eyes, wide, glowing, begging, stayed with him. He remembered the way she had said, "Humans don't leave." That single sentence struck him harder than any weapon. To her, his choice was already made. His mind spun with questions. Why had she trusted him instantly? Why did she believe in humans when her own people had abandoned her? He did not have the answers, but he knew this. If he abandoned her now, he would never be able to forgive himself. The girl's small voice broke the silence. "You don't have to stay. I don't want you to die because of me." He turned sharply. She looked down, her hands twisting in the cloak. Her words were quiet, but her meaning was clear. She had already accepted being thrown away, even by someone who had shown her kindness. She was preparing herself for disappointment, the same way she had all her life. The human knelt again, this time taking her hands in his. His voice was low but steady. "Listen to me. You are not nothing. You are not a mistake. If your people cannot see your worth, that is their blindness, not yours. I will not hand you over. Do you understand? I will not." Her breath caught. For a moment she only stared at him as if she could not believe what she had heard. Then her eyes filled with tears and she nodded slowly, whispering, "Thank you." Outside, the sound of heavy boots drew closer. The warehouse trembled as searchlights swept across its walls. The guards were tightening the circle. Time was running out. The human stood, his choice complete. He pulled the girl to her feet and placed her firmly behind him. His voice was calm but fierce. "Stay close. Whatever happens, don't let go." The girl nodded again, her small hands clutching the edge of his cloak. The warehouse door creaked loudly as shadows passed by. Voices shouted orders and the sound of weapons being armed echoed like distant thunder. The human inhaled slowly, steadying his heartbeat. He knew what this meant. By protecting her, he had crossed the line. From now on, he was no longer just a traveler passing through. He was a target, a fugitive, an enemy of their law. But as he glanced at the girl, fragile, trembling, yet still standing behind him, he felt no regret. This was the choice he had made. And he would stand by it no matter the cost. The guard's footsteps grew louder. The human turned his head toward the shadows outside and whispered one last time to her, "Trust me. You chose the right person." And when the door burst open, spilling red light into the warehouse, the human stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The warehouse had grown quiet again. The guard's footsteps faded into the distance, though the echo of danger still lingered in the air. Dust floated through the broken roof as the human and the alien girl sat hidden in the corner. Their breaths heavy, their bodies tense from running. The human leaned back against a wall, his chest rising and falling as he listened to the silence. The girl sat close, clutching the edges of his cloak, her glowing eyes staring at the cracked floor. For a long time, neither spoke. The night pressed down on them, thick with questions. At last, the human asked softly, "Why do they want to erase you? What did you do?" The girl flinched, her small hands curling into fists. "I didn't do anything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I was born wrong." The human frowned. "Wrong? No child is born wrong." Her shoulders shook as if she were holding back tears. She lifted her eyes to meet his, and in that glow he saw both pain and shame. "My father is highborn. A leader, my family. They are proud, strong, pure. But when I was born, they said I was weak. My blood did not shine like theirs. My body did not grow strong like theirs. They said I was broken." The human's jaw tightened. He had heard such words before in other worlds from other people who believed power was the only measure of worth. It always ended in cruelty. The girl continued, her voice growing thinner. "My father told me. I was ashamed to his name. He said the law allows weak ones to be cast away so the strong may remain pure. My mother did not stop him. No one stopped him." Her words cracked and the tears finally fell. She buried her face in her hands. "They gave me to the guards. Like throwing out trash. Like I was nothing." The human closed his eyes, anger burning in his chest. He had fought enemies on battlefields, had seen death in many forms, but nothing had ever struck him like this. A child abandoned not because of what she had done, but simply for existing. He reached out and gently pulled her hands away from her face. "Listen to me," he said firmly, his voice low but steady. "You are not nothing. You are alive. That means you are worth more than they can see." The girl sniffled, her tears glistening in the faint light. She shook her head weakly. "No one has ever said that. Not once. Everyone looks away. Everyone says it is the law." The human leaned closer. "Laws can be broken. Hearts cannot." For a moment she stared at him, silent as if she was trying to understand those words. Slowly she whispered, "Why are you different? Why didn't you hand me over like the others?" The human's gaze softened. "Because I am human. And humans don't leave." Her lips parted, trembling. She had heard those words in her own heart before, but now to hear them spoken back to her, it was almost too much. She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking, but this time it was not only fear. It was something fragile, something close to hope. The human let her sit in silence for a moment. Then he asked gently, "When you ran to me, why did you choose me?" The girl lowered her eyes, whispering, "I had seen humans before. Traders, soldiers, travelers. They were kind, even to those who were not like them. I watched them in secret. I saw them help strangers. I saw them hold their children close. My people never did that, not for me. So when I saw you, I thought, maybe you would save me too." Her voice cracked again, but this time she did not cry. She looked up at him, her glowing eyes shining like fragile stars. "I had no one else. You were my only chance." The human's chest tightened. Her words carried the weight of her entire life, a lifetime of being unwanted, discarded, unseen. And yet, despite it all, she had chosen to trust him, a stranger from another species. He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Then you were right to choose me. I will not let them take you, not now, not ever." The girl blinked rapidly, her tears spilling once more, but her lips curved into the faintest smile. It was small, fragile, but it was the first real smile he had seen on her face. Outside, the city groaned with the sound of engines and patrols. The search was not over. The danger was still close. But inside that broken warehouse, a truth had been revealed. The human now knew what she carried, the weight of rejection, the scars of abandonment, and the courage to run toward the only hope she believed in. And she now knew something too, that one human's choice could change everything. The night pressed on, but their bond had been sealed not by blood, not by law, but by trust, and trust, the human thought, was stronger than any law written by the cruel. The night outside was colder now. Wind passed through the broken gaps in the warehouse walls, carrying dust and the scent of burning fuel from patrol vehicles nearby. The human lit a small glow stick and placed it gently between them. Its soft yellow light cast long shadows on the floor, revealing just how small the girl truly was. She sat with her knees pulled to her chest, wrapped in his worn cloak. Her eyes were half closed, not from sleep, but from exhaustion, the kind that didn't come from running, but from years of pain. The human sat across from her, his back against the wall. He had placed himself between her and the entrance without saying it aloud. She had noticed, and for the first time she felt safer because of it. They had said little for a long time. Sometimes silence said more. But then, in a voice so soft it almost blended with the wind, the girl whispered, "Do you think it's wrong that I lived?" The question stunned him. He looked up sharply. "What?" She kept her gaze down, staring at her fingers. "I wasn't supposed to live. That's what they always said. My mother cried when she saw me. My father said I would bring dishonor to the bloodline. The priests whispered I was cursed. One said I should have died before my first breath." The human felt a deep chill in his spine. He leaned forward. "You did nothing wrong. You survived." She blinked and a tear slid down her cheek. "But no one wanted me. Not even once. Do you know what that feels like?" The human didn't answer. He didn't interrupt. He knew she needed to speak. She continued, her voice trembling. "When I was 5, I asked my mother why I couldn't play with the others. She told me the guards would come if I was seen. She said hiding me was already a risk, that if I ever left the basement again, they'd take me away, and no one would stop them." She sniffled, wiping her nose with the edge of the cloak. "One day the guards came anyway. Someone had told them. My father didn't even argue. He handed me over like I was an object. I remember him saying, 'Take it. End this shame.'" The human's heart sank. Every word she spoke felt like a knife pressed slowly against his chest. The girl swallowed hard. "I don't know why I ran that day. Maybe I was supposed to let them take me. Maybe I was wrong to escape." Her voice broke completely. "Maybe I shouldn't be here." The human crawled across the floor slowly, carefully, and knelt in front of her. He lifted her chin with 2 fingers, gently. "Look at me," he said. She hesitated, then raised her tear-filled eyes to his. "I don't care what your father said. I don't care what your people believe. You are not a shame. You are not a mistake. You are a child who was thrown into darkness by those too blind to see your light." She let out a shaky breath, her lips trembling. He continued, voice low but full of power. "You are alive. You're strong enough to survive. You ran, even when the whole world was against you. You chose to believe that someone somewhere might care. That's not weakness. That's the greatest kind of strength." Her tears flowed freely now, but she didn't look away. "I'm not your blood," he said. "But if you need someone to stand by you, I will. I will not hand you over. I will not leave you, not now, not ever." She closed her eyes and a sound escaped her lips, not a sob, but something quieter. Something closer to relief, she whispered. "I thought I would never hear those words. I thought no one would ever say I was worth anything." The human placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and strong. "Then let me be the first. You are worth everything." For a while they stayed like that. 2 souls from different worlds, bound by something deeper than species or language. Outside, the city still hunted. The guards still searched. The law still waited to crush those it called weak. But inside that broken shelter, the alien girl no longer felt alone. She had confessed her deepest fear. She had spoken the shame forced on her since birth. And someone had listened, not with judgment but with care. That night something shifted. The girl, once afraid to breathe, now leaned against the human's side. Her eyes, though red from crying, held a new spark, a quiet strength. And the human, once just a traveler passing through, now carried a purpose greater than his own journey. Not because he had to, but because he chose to. The first light of dawn began to creep into the broken warehouse, casting pale gold across the floor. The alien city, once loud and cruel in the dark, now seemed softer in the early glow. But the danger had not passed. Patrols still searched, and the price on the girl's life had only grown. The human watched the sky change through a cracked window. His eyes were tired, but his spirit was steady. The girl slept lightly beside him, her head resting on his arm. Even in sleep, she held a tight grip on his cloak, as if afraid he would vanish if she let go. But he had no plans to leave. She stirred as the light touched her face. Slowly her eyes opened, still glowing faintly but no longer filled with panic. She looked up at him with quiet wonder, as if checking if he was truly still there. "I didn't dream it," she asked softly. "You stayed?" He smiled gently. "I said I would." Her lips trembled into a smile. "A real one this time. Everyone leaves. You didn't." The human looked out the window again. "We can't stay here. They'll search again. We need to find someone who can help us off this planet. She sat up, her small body wrapped in his cloak. But where would we go? He thought for a moment. There's a place. A station on the edge of human territory. No patrols, no laws that erase children. I know people there. They help those who fall through the cracks. The girl's eyes widened. Is it real? He nodded. As real as you and me. She looked down at her hands. If we go there, can I stay with you? The question came out like a whisper, hopeful but fragile. He didn't hesitate. Yes, you can stay with me as long as you want. Her voice broke. Even if I'm not strong? Even if I'm broken? He placed a hand over hers, warm and firm. You're not broken. You're brave, and you're already stronger than you know. The bond between them, unspoken but solid, grew deeper in that moment. It was no longer just protection. It was something more, something close to family. Suddenly, a distant hum echoed through the streets. The girl tensed. The sound grew louder. Hoverbikes. Patrol units, they're searching again, she whispered. The human stood quickly, pulling her to her feet. We need to move. There's an old shuttle port nearby. If we're lucky, someone owes me a favor. She followed close, never letting go of his hand. They slipped out through the rear of the warehouse and moved through a maze of alleys and hidden paths. The human knew how to move in silence. The girl copied his every step. They reached the edge of the industrial zone. Rusted ships stood like skeletons in the sand. The sky was clearer now, but the sound of searchers still echoed nearby. As they approached the broken gates of the shuttle port, an old man stepped out from behind a stack of crates. He was alien, with faded blue skin and mechanical eyes, but his smile was warm. You're a hard man to find, he said to the human. The human nodded. I'm not here to be found. I need a way off-world. The old alien looked past him, his eyes landing on the girl. Ah, I see. No more questions were asked. He pointed to a small, battered shuttle. It still runs. Not fast, but quiet. You'll need that. The human placed a hand on his shoulder. Thank you. The girl hesitated at the ramp of the ship. She looked back at the city, her home, her prison. Then she looked up at the human. Are you sure I should come with you? She asked one last time. What if I'm too much trouble? He knelt facing her at eye level. You're not trouble. You're the reason I'm doing this. Before I met you, I was just drifting. Now I have a purpose. Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they weren't from pain. The human reached out a hand. Let's go. She took it without fear. As they entered the shuttle and the engines came to life, the city faded behind them. The past was not erased, but it no longer had power over her. She was no longer a secret, a shame, or a shadow. She was a survivor. And more than that, she was finally seen.